What's up, everyone? Welcome to Bilbrons and Dragons. I'm your host, Bilbron DaoLockStone. So today we're having another battle report for my Molebron DaoLockStone build, which I've been playing in a Westmarch server called the Forged Concordance. And I'm having a hella fun time there, so I highly recommend it. All of the relevant information will be in the video description below. Feel free to join me there and we can adventure together. So before I get into the play-by-play of today's adventure, I wanted to talk a little bit about the big picture that I've discovered about the Forged Concordance, which is basically that there are tons of different DMs there, and they're not structuring their games for the same group all the time, which has allowed me to discover that there can be a very strikingly different dynamic from table to table. And to provide more context, I've been playing this game for 40 years, and I've always been regarded as a superior optimizer. And so when I'm playing in these sorts of table games, there might be one or two other optimizers there, but it's usually a role-playing dominated thing, right? And the DM curates the encounters, and because I'm so much more powerful than anyone else, he has the choice of, tuning the games towards my colleagues, and I'm just a little bit bored and going through combat by the numbers, or he tunes them to me, and I break a sweat and have a good time, and the other guys are terrified and dead and really mad, and then there's a big long talk at the end about how this isn't fun, and you get it, right? So typically I don't get that many experiences where I get to break a sweat and feel a little bit of pressure. I'm usually in total command, never worried. It's all by the numbers. Just steamroll everything by the numbers. And last night I learned that that's not how it is at all of the tables at the Forged Concordance. Thanks to DM Strafe running a session called Back into the Fray 2.0, I learned what it was like to play at an optimizer DM table, because Strafe knew what she was doing, and the sort of stuff that steamrolls a typical encounter, like heavy obscurement and illusions and summons and stuff, were pretty much taken off the table by healthy doses of poison resistance and fire resistance and blind sight in particular. And she didn't hold back. And I have to say, it was one of my most favorite sessions of all time. I very rarely in my career remember being challenged so much, made to pay for my mistakes so much, where I legitimately thought that I was going to die, legitimately thought we had very little chance of succeeding, and the fact that we managed to pull through with a victory of sorts at the end was just a tremendously good feeling. Throughout the whole time I was biting my nails, literally, and just having a huge adrenaline rush, was buzzed for hours afterwards. It was just an amazing, amazing session for an optimizer like me who is just used to curated encounters with parties that are being babysat by a DM that is more concerned with a storyline and people having fun than actually providing any kind of competitive challenge, right? For me, that's part of the fun. The thrill of victory means nothing without the potential of the agony of defeat. And so you win some, you lose some, and if you never lose some, it's just not as fun. So, all right, let's get into some play-by-play here. So Bilbron rolled up to the job board looking for a new steel gig and encountered Eric assembling a team. Eric was a half-drow aberrant mind sorcerer, and he had already recruited Jax, another half-drow, but this one hexblade archer, and Curlim, I'll call him, even though it's actually like K3R-L1M, who was a winged tiefling skinned as a warforged. So a very bizarre looking creature. He did speak in that robotic way that warforged get, and he was an Echo Knight. And those two were kind of like the core marshals of our team. Then we added at the end Avita, who was a half-elf divine soul sorceress. And so we set out to meet our client, who was named Seven, who seemed to be an archaeologist of sorts. He had a little place out in the mountains/woods, and it was littered with bones. And he seemed to be a scholar of some sort, even though he looked like a K-pop star, and he had this really dry demeanor and way of speaking that reminded me of Mr. Spock on Quaaludes. But yeah, he said that there was a cave nearby. There were some skeletal remains inside that he wanted to examine, but he didn't want to go in there himself. He'd heard that some adventuring groups had wandered in there and then never come back out. So time to call the Forged Concordance to clear out that cave and make it safe for him to wander in and putter around and do his research. So seems pretty straightforward. Okay, let's do this. So we headed out and encountered the cave. It did seem, though, that it was the run-up to it was a bridge that was constructed out of stones. So it wasn't just like a natural cave formation, apparently. But on either side of it, there were some holes that seemed like caves. And up front were like some crystals, and up front and to the side was like an open sort of structure that had a roof and a floor, but no walls, and like some pillars on the corners. And so Fargar scouted this out, and he didn't see any signs of life, but he did see the holes on either side of the cave, and was like, hey, these could be full of guys that are going to pop out and say happy birthday, but they're probably hostiles. So Bilbron took a defensive position with minor illusion, and the team was put on guard, and we decided how to proceed, and then pulled the trigger a little bit too early before I could get my summon out there. But in any case, yeah, all of a sudden, a couple of giant scorpions pour out of those holes, and a bunch of mummies pop out of the ground, and the battle is on. And this was a really tough battle. Giant scorpions are really strong, and they have blind sight. And they have a really crazy poison attack that knocked my Summon Shadow Spawn from 35 damage to 2 in like one round. So yeah, pretty formidable. And like the mummies have some kind of curse. And yeah, it was pretty bad, but the party was resilient. Fargar sealed off one of the scorpions before it could really engage with the party. And because he has poison resistance and poison immunity and piercing resistance, was able to hang with and kill that giant scorpion. But then he got killed attacking the other giant scorpion, which was, being dealt with by the party. And the party was also dealing with all of these these mummies with like fire bolts and stuff. So we managed to handle it, but we were pretty depleted afterwards, and we took a rest. I had to resummon Fargar as well. And then we penetrated the cave complex. And right out front was a bunch of lava, which should have been taken as a sign of things to come. But we were just like, oh, cool, lava. And we wandered into the cave, looking around, and we found a more structured area that was, made out of like bricks and stuff, that seemed to form a small hallway that took a right angle and very shortly led to a door. So we decided to go scout it out. It was completely sealed, so Fargar couldn't even crawl in there as the tiniest of spiders, but I was able to dismiss him and then resummon him on the other side of the door as a, super duper tiny invisible flying spider. And it was a pretty good thing that we did, because on the other side of it was like a draconic warrior brick of some kind, backed up by two guys in robes who looked an awful lot like spellcasters. So with the scouting, we were able to kind of make a plan that worked okay. I mean, we could have done better, to be quite frank. But we launched the attack. We managed to kill these guys. And yeah, we did all right. Nobody died or anything. And I was performing well. I performed pretty well in the first battle, and I performed very well in the second battle. Then we rested again, penetrated the complex more. We found a more ornate area, and there were like a couple of basins that seemed magical, and we tested them. It turns out that they were healing. So pretty much the equivalent of a few healing potions, which was very welcome by some of the team. And then we penetrated further into the cave complex, which stopped being so, constructed and again became more natural in its formations. And we soon came across a pretty large cavern in which was two dragon wormlings flying around, one of whom had a kobold beastmaster of some kind on his back. So after briefly deciding whether we should go in hot or go in talking, we decided to go in hot, and without too much difficulty managed to dispatch the wormlings and the kobold. Pretty solid battle for us. And then when things went sideways, that's where then we really made a mistake. And to give some context, I, looking back, think that I was subconsciously metagaming a little bit, because I didn't take seriously the idea that there might be a mama dragon here, which was even literally mentioned out loud. And I just kind of discounted it because I just thought there's no way level 5s would go up against a dragon, right? I didn't actually think that. I'm searching for explanations as to why I just basically brushed off the idea that Mama Dragon might be there. And I just thought, okay, this kobold is kind of like the dude. He's a beastmaster and he stole some dragon eggs, and yeah, okay, we killed him. Let's search the place. And so I set Fargar out searching the place. And because I was operating Fargar, I wasn't paying enough attention to Bilbron's positioning. And I wasn't careful enough. I wasn't paranoid enough. I took it easy for a second, and I wasn't watching where I was what I was doing. And then Fargar scouted out, and like deeper into it, he found amidst all this lava, a giant freaking nest with some giant freaking eggs in there, which should immediately have clued me in that yes, Mama Dragon, legitimate possibility, in fact, probability at this point. But no, I'm all like, oh, is that a magic shield over there? Look at all this gold, some scrolls, yeah. And I wasn't paying attention. And the next thing you know, out from the lava emerges an enraged Mama Dragon who sees all of these intruders who had just killed their chicks and were dumb enough to be standing around in a group. So, can you guess what happened after that? Yeah, I think you probably guessed that a 60 damage fire breath came our way, and every single one of us failed our saves, even though myself and Jax both blew inspiration. It always sucks to blow inspiration and fail anyway, right? And yeah, so we were all instantly in death save mode. Great way to start, right? And Fargar is like 90 feet away investigating this nest. Just not a good thing. So fortunately, Alita managed to be outside of the area of effect of that and used a twin healing word to bring back Jax and Eric. And then Fargar dashed over and on his next turn used a potion of healing to bring back Bilbron. But I've got to say, I don't really remember the play-by-play in that particular battle. My adrenaline was going, my heart was pumping. Like, I got knocked to zero when Fargar brought me back. The first thing I did was like, oh my god, the dragon is literally right there! Like 1 square away! Bottled Respite into my ring with my little 6 hit points, you know. And then Fargar tried to pick up the ring and run away. Or actually, he tried to move out of the way because he knew that the dragon might be able to kill him. And then grabbed the ring, and then he got killed. And I thought, man, there was no way on earth that anybody was going to survive this. And Jax was really kind of leading the charge, saying, you know, pour on the offense. Curlum took a little while at the to get really rolling because he was, you know, working through his echo and trying to position his main body to, you know, not die, which totally makes sense. But once he, really joined the battle, he started doing some damage to it, and Eric was doing some damage to it with his aberrant mind stuff like, you know, Dissonant Whispers and Mind Sliver. And Bilbron contributed exactly jack nothing to that battle. I got completely roasted. I had retreated into my ring, and at the last moment, I did, against my better judgment, try to, pull a hero moment where the dragon got to be on death's door, and I thought, okay, I'll support the team, and I'll pop out of my ring, and I'll throw down 2 Eldritch Blasts. And I was doing math in my head, and I was like, I estimate only about a 1 in 3 chance that I'm going to miss both beams, and if I can just land one, I'm probably going to get him. And of course, I missed both, and then ran away, and it was just like, oh my god, I've got 1 meld into stone left. Hopefully someone can kill this thing before it kills all of us. And thankfully, yeah, I think Jax got the killing blow, and we beat it. I couldn't believe it. Bilbron fell to his knees being like, oh, thank Buku! Just so in shock and, just traumatized by that moment. It was just so harrowing. And a somber moment because 2 of our team died. Eric and Avita, died the final death there. And even though we did try to bring them back later, yes, there's these rules in the Forged Concordance. You can't just raise dead on people. There's a roll involved. I guess it's based on critical role or something. I'm not a critical role guy, but I guess a lot of you guys will know what I'm talking about. And Evita didn't make the roll, got a 3 on that d20, and is now resting in peace with her goddess, which is unfortunate. So Marcel, the guy who was playing her, is going to have to make a new character. And Eric was, however, managed to make that roll and brought back to the land of the living. And so we went back to 7 and confronted him, Bilbron, quite angrily, and even went so far as to take his lava cloak form. But, it wasn't really the dude's fault. And he was really cold in how he responded to. I hate those really cold, logical, analytical, professorial type guys that are a little bit on the spectrum and don't have emotional reactions. That totally doesn't remind me of anyone I might know when I look in the mirror. In any case, yeah, it was a pretty big haul. Got like 350 gold and like a magic shield and some scrolls and some potions. But someone died, and a lot of lessons to be learned, man. I'm going to be Monday morning quarterbacking this thing, and I got to get more gun for a big thing like that. I've got to be even more annoying in my paranoia and just constantly make sure that I'm positioned right, that I do the right thing and not, wait for someone's turn to stop talking before I say the critical thing, right? Like literally that was why I didn't search out the area with, okay, whatever. It was a very harrowing experience. And I wanted to thank DM Strafe for providing it to me. I can't wait to play at her table again. I want to thank my team for hanging in there and helping me get through it. I was helpless in that last battle, and I didn't contribute anything. So back to the drawing board. Not drawing board, but I'm going to evolve. Just like Bilbron learned and evolved from the casino ship debacle, he's going to learn and evolve from this. And so, at next level, I've already decided to add a couple of different things than I had originally intended. And so thank you so much for watching. This has been Bilbrons and Dragons. I'm your host, Bilbron DaoLockStone. See you next time.